What is up, and welcome back, my friends, to the last video in the habits module, in the intro to hypnosis module. Now, we just went over all the important terms that you need to be familiar with in order to be an effective hypnotist. And this video is on the framework for each individual hypnosis experience. Because no matter what you're doing, whether you're using hypnosis to heal people or you're using hypnosis for entertainment, the framework is exactly the same. Now, there is the framework before the hypnosis, there is the framework during the hypnosis, and we're going to talk about both of these. Okay? Before the hypnosis, there are 3 steps. Number 1 is the introduction. This is where you talk to your prospect for the first time. This is where you walk up to that stranger on the street and introduce yourself as the hypnotist. The amount of certainty behind your introduction affects the outcome of the hypnosis. Now, the first time I ever approached anyone to hypnotize them, I was in college. I was studying hypnosis hours and hours and hours on end every single day. And I went to this meeting on my floor. I went in there and I talked to everyone. I introduced myself. I say, hey, my name's Tyler. I'm a professional hypnotist. Okay, now at this point, I have never hypnotized anyone in my life. And I guarantee, if I walked in there and said, hey, my name's Tyler, I've been studying hypnosis and I want to try it out and practice it, I guarantee that first experience would not have gone as amazingly as it did. But instead I walked in there and I introduced myself as a professional. And what happened immediately after I said, I'm a professional hypnotist, is everyone in the room started freaking out. They're like, oh shit, hypnotize him, hypnotize her. And everyone started getting super excited at the possibility of a professional hypnotist. When you introduce yourself, you need to hold a certain level of certainty in your identity as the hypnotist. Now, the entire next module, Be the Hypnotist, is going to dive into that specifically. So it is easy for you to identify as a hypnotist. That way you can nail the introduction every single time. Cool, you've introduced yourself. The next step before you start hypnotizing them in this framework is to get permission. It is to ask them if they want to be hypnotized. Find a volunteer. Find someone who wants to experience something really cool. Now, just because at first some people may be hesitant towards hypnosis, that does not mean they don't want to experience it. Okay? So part of getting permission to hypnotize people is also letting people know what hypnosis is. It is eliminating the uncertainty around it and making it more clear, making it something that they want to do. And once they want to do it, you say, hey, you ready to do this? They say, yes, cool. You have permission. You can go on to the next step. So quick recap, introduce yourself as the hypnotist, get permission to hypnotize them. And the third step is to have a level of rapport with them. Now, I say this is the third step, but it's really not. This rapport starts from the first word you say to them, and it does not end. As you are continuing to communicate, whether it is the first 5 minutes you're talking to them, an hour into a session, or even weeks and weeks and weeks down the line after talking to them for the first time, you need rapport for hypnosis to be effective. You need a subconscious level of rapport, a liking, a trusting, where the person knows you, they like you, they trust you, and they want you to guide them through the experience. Now, rapport is super easy to generate. We will dive into rapport in its own video down the line, but to keep it simple, if you have the right intentions, if you want to show someone a good time, if you want to change and improve their lives, then rapport is easy to generate. If you have negative intentions with the hypnosis, you will not be able to generate rapport, and in turn, you will not be able to hypnotize them. Okay, so that is the before the hypnosis piece. Now the framework for actually hypnotizing someone and producing a result. There's 3 steps in this. Number 1, you need to control their focus. You'll notice in future videos, I'll be breaking down inductions I do and actual live hypnotic experiences. You'll notice every single time I hypnotize someone, no matter what the result is for, it'll always follow this framework. And you'll notice the first thing I do before I start inducing them into hypnosis is to control their focus. I'll say, look at the tip of my finger. I'll say, find a point directly ahead of you and focus on that. I may just say, focus on the sound of my voice, the beating of your heart, focus on your breathing. The first step is to guide their focus. Why we do this is we want their conscious mind looking at one thing, focusing on one thing. That way, we have easier access to the subconscious, where the suggestions take place, where the hypnosis happens. So step one is to guide their focus. Look right here. Step two, activate their imagination. Let's say I'm trying to stick someone's feet to the ground, or I'm going to stick someone's feet to the ground. The first thing I'll do is have them focus on their feet. Hey, focus on your feet. You can look at them visually, focus on them mentally. Imagine that your feet are getting heavier and heavier and heavier. Imagine that they are so heavy, they're completely stuck. Okay, so first focus on your feet, then imagine they're getting heavier. The third piece is reality. This is the moment where we transfer them from imagining something to actually experiencing something. So look at your feet, focus on your feet, imagine they're getting heavier, imagine they're stuck, realize they are. Try and lift your feet and realize you can't. You can actually try and lift your feet. Encourage them to try. They won't be able to. Now, when you control their conscious mind's focus, you activate the subconscious by activating their imagination. And with certainty, you transfer from imagination to reality. A great word to use is realize. Go from imagining something to realizing something. That instantly makes it real. Then they realize their feet are stuck, and once they try and lift their feet, they won't be able to. Now, if they do lift their feet, then we go back through the cycle. So we start at the beginning. We say, awesome, you did notice that your feet were heavier, didn't you? Bring their focus to the fact that their feet were heavier than any time outside of this experience. Okay? They'll say, yeah, it was heavier. Then you say, awesome. Now imagine it is just as heavy as it was, and imagine it is 2 times heavier. You see, when it was as heavy as it was harder to lift. But now that it's as heavy as it is impossible to lift. Realize you can't lift your feet. You can really try and do that now. Same exact thing. So I'm bringing their focus to the fact that it felt heavy. Then I'm enhancing their imagination again and transferring back into reality. I find in my experience about 30 to 40% of people, when you say lift your feet, they're stuck, will lift their feet the first time. Okay? Now at first I viewed this as oh shit, I failed. I didn't do it right. But that's completely the opposite of what's true. What's happening is in their mind, they're thinking, oh shit, I fucked up. I didn't do it right. So you as the hypnotist, let them know they did great and keep bringing them down to the goal, because the second time around, those 30 or 40 people who didn't have their feet stuck, now that's down to like maybe 1 or 2%. And those are only the people who are actively fighting the hypnotic experience, and you should not be hypnotizing them in the first place. Okay, now the last step, we had 3 steps before the hypnosis, which was to have and generate rapport. It is to introduce yourself as a hypnotist, and it is to get permission to hypnotize them. We have the framework for the hypnotic experience itself, which is get their focus, enhance their imagination, and transfer that into reality, make it real for them. The last piece is to take them out of hypnosis and confirm the experience. Now you can do this in any order you want. You can confirm the experience first. Hey, pretty crazy that your feet were stuck on the ground, right? Whoa, notice how confident you feel right now. Don't you feel a lot more confident? Confirm the experience. You can take them out by simply saying, when I count backwards from 3 to 1, you will no longer be hypnotized. But all the amazing things you felt will go with you, will carry through you, and you'll feel them still. 3, 2, 1, wide awake. Okay, the same way, by the way, sleep is sort of the word to start the hypnosis. Wide awake tends to be the phrase to take people out of hypnosis. Now these phrases in and of themselves mean nothing, but the associations people have set with them due to the limited knowledge people have available for hypnosis makes it have the power that it has. Okay, so the last part is to confirm the experience and take them out of hypnosis. And again, this can go in any order. You can do a sandwich. You can confirm the experience, take them out of hypnosis, and then confirm the experience again. Now, the reason why we want to confirm the experience, and this is more important for the therapeutic side of this, more important for the healing side of this is how we make sure that results and changes last for life. We don't want to have someone feel confident for a few moments or for a few weeks. We don't want someone's stress or anxiety to be relieved for a minute or an hour or however long. We want the change to last for life. So when we give our suggestions, we suggest that it'll last for life. And we confirm a shift in identity when we take them out. For someone who you're helping them quit smoking, you immediately confirm that they are a non-smoker. How does it feel to be someone who no longer smokes? How does it feel to be a non-smoker? It's weird that you probably want to call your family members and tell them how excited you are that you finally quit. All of this confirms the experience. It makes it as real as it can be afterwards, and it sets them up for success later on in life. Thank you guys for joining me today in the Hypnotic Framework video. That is the end of the first module. And now you guys can dive into the Be the Hypnotist module, and I will see you over there.
I believe that we can grow.